November 1st is the saddest date in the history of the New York subway system. That day 93 people lost their lives in the worst accident that the New York subway was to experience. A combination of factors led to the crash, which we will examine in this video. But first, some background information. In 1918 the New York City transit system, consisting of both elevated and subway lines, was operated by two private companies. One of these was the Brooklyn Rapid Transit Company, or BRT. The BRT was a holding company, that is, it owned the stock of the companies that actually operated the service, but that was a complex arrangement that I will examine in other videos. In future videos on this channel I will examine the financial and political histories of the companies that operated the subways before 1940. But for now, suffice to say, that the BRT logo was on the trains, and this is who the public also perceived as the operating company. 5 years earlier, in 1913, the BRT had entered into a contract with the City of New York, to expand its existing system of elevated and surface lines. The reconstruction under the contract was still in progress in 1918. This map shows the lines that were in operation, as opposed to those still under construction in 1918. The ill-fated train was a Brighton Beach-bound train originating in Park Row, Manhattan. The Brighton Line route over the Manhattan Bridge that we know today, had not yet been completed, so the train was still routed over its original route going over the Brooklyn Bridge. In Brooklyn it would go over the Fulton Elevated then turn down the Franklin Avenue line. The Franklin line today is a shuttle, but in 1918 it was part of the main line. At Prospect Park the route then connected with the Brighton Beach line and on to Brighton and Coney Island. There was one issue that would become important. Keep in mind that the original route did not contain a sharp curve at Prospect Park. The curve was necessary because the new alignment, still incomplete, would route the trains directly to the Broadway subway, instead of the Brooklyn Bridge. 5 a.m. The motormen walk out on strike. The labor dispute had been festering for several months. For those interested in more details I will link to a book by Brian Cudahy in the description below. The company still refuses to recognize the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers. The Public Service Commission, which regulates the private transit companies, insists that the company provide service. The company quickly trains whatever employees it has available to operate trains. Edward Luciano is one such employee. He is a crew dispatcher, who also had some experience as a tower operator. Now he was operating a train with minimal training. He is also not familiar with the Brighton line. It is likely that he still remembers the straight routing from the Fulton line down Franklin to Brighton, and does not know about the new S-curve. 6:08 p.m. The train arrives at Park Row from Brooklyn, and is being prepared for Edward Luciano to take it on its outbound trip. The marker lights are not working, so a white lamp is placed in front of the train following BRT protocol. Marker lamps were colored lights at the front of the train that would indicate the route of the train so the tower could set the switches appropriately. 6:14 p.m. Edward Luciano takes the controls and begins the journey over the Brooklyn Bridge to Brooklyn. He began work that morning at 5 a.m. as a crew dispatcher. Is he exhausted? Is he still distracted over the death of his 3-year-old daughter a week earlier from the Spanish flu? 6:19 p.m. The train leaves Sand Street and proceeds along the Fulton Elevated. In 1918 there was an elevated line above Fulton Street, not the subway we know today. 6:29 p.m. The train leaves Grand Avenue and is supposed to switch to the Franklin line heading to Brighton. Instead the switches are set for the straight route to continue along Fulton Street. Remember those marker lights that are not working. The tower operator guessed that this was a Fulton train, because the previous train was also a Brighton train. An experienced motorman would have stopped at the signal, which indicated the route that the switch was set for, and blown the whistle 4 times. However, Luciano either didn't know what to do, or assumed he had been rerouted. BRT protocol does not allow him to simply back the train up for the correct route. He must operate past the next switch, reverse ends and switch over to the return track, then operate back to beyond another switch in order to reverse ends and proceed again, this time on the correct route. He is now running very late. 6:38 p.m. The train leaves Franklin Avenue, on the correct route this time, and towards its fate with destiny. Consumers Park was an interesting station on this line. It was a flag stop, that is, trains were not required to stop unless a passenger signaled for a stop or someone was waiting on the platform. Luciano ignores the signal to stop and continues. Ahead there is a small sign indicating the speed limit. 6 miles per hour. Was Luciano aware of this new alignment? Did he see the sign? He approaches the curve at around 30 miles per hour. 6:42 p.m. The train derails and crashes into the tunnel that connects the Franklin line to the Brighton line. The second and third cars sustained the most damage and were where the most casualties occurred. One car, car 100, was reduced to splinters. By the end of the day the strike would be settled, but it was too late. The name Malbone Street, under which the crash occurred, was so reviled that it was changed to Empire Boulevard. Several company officers and Luciano would be put on trial for manslaughter. The venue for the trials was changed to Mineola. All were acquitted. One of the men tried was William S. Mendon. He was the chief engineer of the BRT who designed the curve. The judge issued a directed order of acquittal, stating that no one could have foreseen the sequence of events leading to this accident. By the end of 1918, the Brooklyn Rapid Transit Company was in receivership. The reasons go far beyond this accident and will be discussed in detail in future videos. The company is reorganized and emerges in 1923 as the Brooklyn Manhattan Transit Corporation, or BMT. William S. Mendon becomes the president of the new BMT. A future video will examine his biography. Likewise, future videos will examine the history of the BMT and its contributions to the transit industry. It went on to become one of the most innovative and progressive transit operators in the country.
If you like this video and want me to produce more, smash that like button and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching.